Hey, my name is Garf, and the topic for today is emotional bankruptcy. Have you noticed how the world seems to be on fire all the time now? Every news channel, every social media feed, every conversation seems to revolve around what's going wrong. This isn't accidental. Negative news sell, outrage gets clicks, fear keeps people watching. And your brain, which evolved to scan for threats in your immediate environment, now scans the entire planet for things to be afraid of or angry about. It's exhausting. There are problems at every level, from your neighborhood to global conflicts, spanning economic, environmental, social, and political domains. Now, if you're paying any attention at all, it's extremely difficult not to feel overwhelmed. It's a strange feature of our modern age that we are simultaneously more connected to the world's problem than ever before, while being increasingly powerless to do anything meaningful about most of them. This contradiction creates a unique form of suffering, an emotional bankruptcy. Emotional bankruptcy is what happens when good people, people who genuinely care about others, people who want to make the world a better place, find themselves completely drained of their capacity to engage, to feel, to care anymore. And the good people burn out first because they care, because they take on burdens that are not necessarily theirs to carry, because they feel responsible for things that are in reality far beyond their sphere of influence. You might find yourself scrolling past news of genuine tragedies with a lack of concern. You might find yourself saying some version of, I just can't care about that right now. If you're experiencing these symptoms, I have both bad news and good news. The bad news is that this condition won't resolve itself spontaneously in our current information environment. The good news is that there are practical steps you can take to address it. Now, the first thing to understand about emotional bankruptcy is that it's not a moral failing. It's not a sign that you're a bad person or that you don't care enough. The human mind was not designed to process the suffering of billions of people simultaneously. For the vast majority of our evolutionary history, we lived in a small tribes of perhaps 150 individuals. Our empathy circuits were developed to handle the problems of those immediately around us, not the problems of the entire planet streamed directly into our consciousness 24/7. So, what do? The first step is to acknowledge your limitation without shame. You cannot care about everything, you only have a finite amount of emotional energy. The second step is to be strategic about where you invest your emotional resources. It means setting boundaries on your media consumption. It means recognizing that being informed is important, but being perpetually distressed is not productive. The third step is to understand the difference between caring and ruminating. Caring leads to action, constructive action. Ruminating leads to paralysis and despair. Now, when you're emotionally bankrupt, you can make some choices to replenish your emotional energy. First, focus on your sphere of influence rather than your sphere of concern. Your sphere of influence contains things you can actually affect: your behavior, your immediate relationships, your local community. Your sphere of concern contains everything you care about, including global issues far beyond your direct control. Effective people concentrate their energies on this sphere of influence, gradually expanding it over time. Ineffective people exhaust themselves by fixating on their sphere of concerns. Second, practice empathy triage. Just as emergency room doctors must make difficult decisions about which patients to treat first, you must make decisions about which causes and concerns deserve your immediate emotional attention. Third, in an era of widespread cynicism, hope is crucial. True hope is not naive optimism, but a recognition of a problem's gravity combined with the conviction that our actions matter. Finally, recognize that your emotional bankruptcy may be telling you something important. Perhaps you've been trying to care about too many things at once. Perhaps you've been caring in ways that are not actually helpful. Perhaps You've been neglecting the small actions that actually make a difference. What we need is not to care less, it is to care more effectively. You need to distinguish between genuine compassion, which requires courage and intelligence, and idiot compassion, the kind of compassion that ultimately helps no one and harms the giver. Now, let me share a personal example. For years, I was consumed by the full spectrum of the world's problem. I read every article, watched every documentary, had an opinion on every issue, and I was getting exhausted and ineffective. It was only when I narrowed my focus, when I stopped trying to carry the weight of the entire world, that I actually began to make a difference. I identified a few specific areas where I had real leverage and passion, and I only committed to those areas wholeheartedly. Not only did my emotional well being improve dramatically, but my impact in those chosen areas increased exponentially. By doing less, I accomplished more. Now, I'm not suggesting that you become indifferent to the world's problem. I'm suggesting that you become strategic about how you engage with them. I'm suggesting that you recognize the difference between productive concern and unproductive anxiety. So, what do you think about this topic? Let me know in the comments below, and please like this video and share it with someone who you think might benefit from its message. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.